people attack you and your character or your looks or whatever it is, your response can inspire others.
Fight over what the truth is.
All right, good morning. This is Lynx. I'm getting up here in sunny California, and I asked the tarot what I should do a video about today, and it gave me an idea. So when I was in college, I had this professor who would never survive these days. He was quite a bit to handle, but he was extremely inspiring. He was a poet. He was a famous Chicago poet. His name was Paul Carroll, and he was a mentor. He was one of my first mentors. I'm going to tell this story because I think it's important. I wanted to be a writer very badly, and I'd taken his class, and I'd taken a few classes from him, and I went to see him, and I said, Professor Carroll, I really want to be a writer. And he had his own publishing house and everything, and he was very well known as a poet. And he just always inspired me. He was very, very, very brash, and he would say what he wanted, and he was not liked in the department because he was so vocal, and he was pretty blunt. Well, we talked for a little while, and then he said, "Come on, I've got to go. Come down the elevator with me." So we get in the elevator, and then it was a crowded elevator, and there's all these people. We're like jammed in there. And he turns to me and he goes, "Okay, let me ask you this question." He goes, "Why did you come to see me today? You got your fucking A from me. Why did you come to see me?" And like everyone in the elevator turned and looked at me. And I turned red. And he said, "I got you. You're a writer, and you'll never get away from it." So he was one of the people in my life that truly encouraged me to go after what I loved. But the reason for this is because this video is because I see people all of the time who are limited and afraid to go after what it is that really is natural to them. And I have another story based on Paul Carroll. He told me once the story of his mother. It was actually in a book that he wrote, and he used to go on about his father. He was crazy about his father. He loved his father. He wrote one of the most beautiful poems I've ever read in my life. It was about his father. And but he told only one story about his mother. There was only one thing he ever told about his mother. And he said, when I tried out for the football team, and he was very, very excited that he got on the team. And he went home and he told his mother, and he was really proud. This is something he'd always wanted to do. And he got on the team, and all she did was look at him and say, "Well, you always did have nice ankles." And that was the only story he ever told about his mother. And when his brother found out, when his brother read the story, when the book came out, his brother laughed, and he called up Paul Carroll and he said, "Paul, you got her." And that was it. That was the only story it was the only thing I ever heard him say about his mother. And that got me thinking. It's like, what would the people in our lives, what do we leave behind? What story do we tell about the people in our lives? How do people affect us? And when they're left behind, what do they remember? And what story would you tell about them? And I thought specifically about what story I would tell about my mother, and it came to me immediately. When I was a kid, my hair was would never behave because it's curly, as you can tell. And my mother did not like that. She wanted my hair to be straight, and she would try to comb it and part it, and no matter what she did, it would start to wave. And no matter what she did, she couldn't get it to behave. And she would literally take a brush and go at my head and brush it until my head would get raw, trying to make it straighten. And every time she tried to make it straighten, because it's curly, it would curl. And my head would get raw, and she just, trying to straighten it. And the irony was, most of the time when she'd do this, it would be right before I go to bed. She'd just be so like, your hair's not straight, your hair won't do what I want it to do, so, So I'd go to bed. When I got older, and when I was a teenager, and I was, taking, I could do what I want with my hair. I used to let it curl like all the way, like in my, like the curls would fall out in my face, and she was so jealous because she wanted curly hair so desperately, and she couldn't make it curl, and she'd have to do stuff to it to try to get it to curl, but it never curled. It would never curl for her, and mine was like, here it was like falling, these curls would fall over my eyes, and like, and all my friends, everywhere I went, they loved my hair. And the funny thing was, when I was a kid and she was trying to straighten it and everything, no one cared. No one cared, no one paid attention, no one even noticed. It just bothered her so much that my hair wasn't straight. And so she'd brush it. So my head would get raw, from her brushing it to try to get it straight. And I'd be like, can you please stop? And she'd be like, no, it's not done yet. So, when I got older though, and she was jealous, it made me realize quite a few things. There are going to be people in your life that want to change things that are natural to you, and they are going to try their damnedest to brush whatever is natural out of you. And no matter what they do, they're not going to do it unless you let them. There's no amount of brushing that would ever make my hair go straight. Now I can kind of, sort of, make it if I want to, kind of, sort of, because, but it's still curly. It's naturally curly. So the reason that I'm bringing this up is that we all have these things that are natural to us that someone around us wants us to change because they are uncomfortable with it. I want you to think about that for a minute. There are people around you who want you to change something that is natural to you simply because they are uncomfortable with it. No amount of brushing can change that. You can give it away, you can bury it, you can throw it out, you can do whatever you want to make someone else happy about it. But when you do that, what you've done is you've trained them to pressure you to take what is natural to you out. And the next thing they're going to do is go for the next thing that makes them uncomfortable, and the next thing that makes them uncomfortable, and the next thing that makes them uncomfortable, until they've got you totally trained to be what they want you to be. And this is family members, friends, strangers, people in religions, there's all sorts of things. Now, there are some things that we do that are really not natural to us, that are harmful for us, that are bad habits. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about taming your mind, because the human mind is this crazy, it's a tiger. As the Tibetans say, it's a tiger. And if you don't tame it, it will destroy you. It's really true. But you don't tame the mind by going against what is natural. There's this wonderful phrase by Lao Tzu, or this wonderful story by Lao Tzu, or it's Chang Tzu in the Tai Kung, and he says, if you want to train a horse, you take away everything that is not horse. And I used to live north of the city in Chicago in an area where there were a lot of horse people, and I used to watch some of these people with their horses, and oh my gosh, they would try to get the horse to do all these things that weren't natural to the horse, and the horse would kick them. The horse would knock them over. The horse would kick them in the face and take their teeth out. when you try to do something that is not natural to you, the horse inside you will knock your teeth out. I'm Lucky Lynx, as always, wishing you success and good fortune in all that you do. If you'd like to take a tarot class with me, and it was the tarot gave me the idea to do this today. I asked it, what should I do today? And it told me very specifically. So, because I didn't know what would be the right thing that people needed today. Right thing, I guess. You know, I was kind of like, and I said, hey, what would really grab people's attention today? And the tarot said, I know. So, if you'd like to learn how to read the tarot, I have a basic tarot class that's starting in about 4 weeks. I've got some people already signed up for it. If you'd like to know how to do this, this is all about storytelling, and I'm gonna do this basic class in terms of like how to tell story. You're gonna get my notes on some basics. But then, you know, there's a whole bunch of books out there on basic meanings and stuff. So we're going to go over basic meanings, but we're going to start to look at these as story characters in your life and how the story lines up in your life and how you can take advantage of that and how to order the story in your life based on what's come before, what's come now, and what looks like is coming. And then I'm going to give you some sense of how to right away start reading intuitively and get a deeper connection to the cards right from the beginning. So that's the first thing. I got an intermediate to advanced class that will teach you all sorts of interesting things about how to use the tarot in ways that you may not be using it now, probably aren't using it now. I have a Lenormand class. I have 2 Lenormand classes. I have one that's a basic Lenormand class, and I have one that is a Grand Tableau class that's going on right now. I have how to read Mexican Loteria cards. I have one on how to read crystal ball, which is really something. How to read crystal balls. I got one in here. Here we go. There we go. How to read the crystal ball. And then what else do I got? I got a playing card class. How to read playing cards like a boss. So if you'd like to take any of these classes, contact me 779-302-8009 or conjurehope@gmail.com. If you'd like to get a reading from me, I am booking solid. So I'd be happy to do a reading for you, though. So call and schedule a reading, 779-302-8009 or conjurehope@gmail.com. I've also got something called a life path assessment. People have been asking me about it. Life path assessment actually looks at what is the map of your life. And I do the map of your life, and then we figure out what your core archetype is. It's 1 of 6. And then with that core archetype, we look at how there's an 8-point strategy on how to realign that to give you the maximum out of your life. That one takes an hour and a half. If you'd like to do a life path assessment, I can help you get back to that core archetype. Everyone who's done this process with me has had a really positive experience from it. I've been doing it for years for people. It was taught to me by my master based on the Tibetan teachings of the Bon religion, or the Bon processes, I should say. And if you would like to donate, thanks to everyone who has donated generously. If you'd like to donate to help keep these videos going, if they're inspiring you, if they're helping you, and you'd like to donate to help keep them coming, then I'm going to include my Venmo and my PayPal below. Thank you to everyone who's been donating so generously. I really appreciate it. So go out there today and ask yourself, am I trying to comb out the naturalness? Or am I trying to force out the natural curl in my hair? Or am I going with it and letting it do what it does naturally because it's part of who I am, not part of what someone else says I should be?